Joining us now, we've got one of Australasia's or the world's finest racing judges, and Dominic Beirne. Dominic, thanks for joining us here on TAB Trackside. First of all, before we get you into the form, just tell us in your view, how strong is this year's Melbourne Cup?
Yes, it is a very, very strong Melbourne Cup. It's a good addition. Regularly, people reflect on, or in advance, they think, well, this is the best Melbourne Cup we've seen. And, it's a short-term memory syndrome, I think, because, we've seen some wonderful Melbourne Cups, especially around the time of Maccabi Diva. And the top weight this year, 58.5, I've seen better horses here, better performed horses here, like Septimus, for example, with the same weight. So just from that measuring stick and the fact that there's a gap then down to the third or fourth best, highest weighted horses, I think it's a very good Melbourne Cup, but I don't think it's exceptional.
Okay, yeah, Dominic, we're gonna start by asking you about the international horses. Often it's hard for Australasian punters to gauge, but what are your thoughts on the quality of the international visitors this year?
Well, they dominate the betting market. Horses with an international suffix after their name contain 70% of the betting market here this year, and 30% for the New Zealanders and Australians. I've got to put the New Zealanders first because, are very well represented. But it's a very strong contingent of internationals this year, and reflected somewhat in the evenness of the race by being probably $8 the favourite.
Yeah, exactly. So Tiger Moth heads those internationals. What sort of horse is he?
Tiger Moth is a very difficult horse to assess because his form has been disguised cleverly by the trainer, who hasn't allowed him to go to the races too often in order to protect his handicap and win the race. Aidan O'Brien is the world's leading trainer, and he has been very single-minded about his exploits in Australia trying to win this race, and he could very well do it this year. European three-year-olds have excelled in recent years with 2 wins and an unlucky run last year. Back in 2009, Marla was, a bit unlucky in the race. I thought if he ran a little bit faster mid-race sectionals, he may even have won the race. At the top level, they're very, they don't need a weight for age allowance, I don't think, because, it's proven that, 60% or more of the ARC winners in the last 80 or 100 years have been 3-year-olds. So when a horse is 3 years and 10 or 11 months old, he's very, very mature. And the advantage they've got is they've still got that youth.
So, Dominic, what about the Australasian horses? How can they compete with a horse like Tiger Moth, who is bringing that 3-year-old Northern Hemisphere profile?
Well, the key Australian horse isn't really an Australian horse. It's a Russian Camelot, who represents a unique blend of being a Northern Hemisphere bred 3-year-old whose entire racing career has been here in Australia. And so highly is he regarded that in his 4 runs this preparation, he's raced in our highest Group 1 weight for age races at an average price of $2.10. So he's been, expected to win every time. And that expectation has kind of turned people off a little bit because he hasn't met their expectations by winning all the time. But of course, there's a 50% chance when he goes to the races, he's only a coin toss to win. I think that he represents at $13, I'd say he's the best value in the race. If I try and make a comparison with Tiger Moth, then being the same age, I would imagine myself that if Russian Camelot was over in Ireland for that race that Tiger Moth just won, the Group 3, he would have beaten them up just as comprehensively. And, he would be, but he has had the advantage of being in Australia, well acclimatised, proven here under our conditions, because it's all he knows. So personally, I think that he's the best value in the race.
So can you give us a comparison, Rekindling, Cross Counter, Il Paradiso, to these 2 horses? How do they measure up to those past 3?
They're not wildly dissimilar. I fancy myself that Russian Camelot has got the best figures of the 4 that you've mentioned there, and I think that You mentioned 4, and I think Russian Camelot, my figures, has got nothing wanting compared to those.
Okay, Dominic, sum up the race for us. How did you assess this year's Melbourne Cup?
I fancy that punters can do very well backing Russian Camelot each way. I fancy the Cox Plate was a stronger race than the Caulfield Cup. I don't like such generalisations typically, but the outsider in the race, I think, might be Finch. He is strong. He's good on a dry track, and the dry track is going to sort some of these out tomorrow. Sir Dragonet, for example, all his form pretty much is on rate effector going. But, I think if New Zealand punters focus on Russian Camelot and a saver on Finch, I feel that they'll get a good dividend. And one outsider who I think is worthy of running into, 3rd or 4th is your own, The Chosen One, who ran a personal best rating last start and is 5th up in the race. And that's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to ask you actually around that Caulfield Cup, because I know you've got the association with godson James Cummings and Avilius, who was really unlucky in that same Caulfield Cup. Through The Chosen One, Avilius, and obviously we're getting that Anthony Van Dyke form. How does the Caulfield Cup form measure up into this race?
Well, if watching the video, there's a lot of very strong runs in the race. And usually when there's so many very, very strong runs in the race, it tends to get the computer to even them out, because they can't all have run so well, can they? One might think. But it might be a case of, well, they just were all there to present on the day, and they did run well. A number of them were favoured by the fact that it was their preferred going. It was nice and soft, and they're probably not going to get that tomorrow. So I think it is a consideration.
Dominic, one horse I'm really keen to get your thoughts on is the Toby, the English Derby winner in Anthony Van Dyke, who ran a really good second in the Caulfield Cup. Your thoughts on him?
Anthony Van Dyke is one extremely profitable bet over the years is to bet an international horse that has had a lead-up run in Australia, and that lead-up run returned a personal best rating. He's done so on my computer. He's burdened with 58.5, and I've seen better horses than him beaten in the Cup with that impost, but he's certainly a definitely strong chance.
Okay, what about Sir Dragonet, the Cox Plate winner?
Of the two main lead-up races, the Caulfield Cup and Cox Plate, my computer rated the Cox Plate more highly. He has proven he has the acceleration to be our best at 2,000, so backing him at 3,200 is a bit of a leap of faith, and his best form is on soft tracks.
Interesting runner here is Prince of Aaron, who's been here twice before and placed in the Cup. What have you made of his lead-up runs?
Well, he ran brilliantly in the Caulfield Cup after being forced from a wide barrier to settle much further back in the field than his usual. He's had 6 runs in Australia before that, and his average for settling down position is around 4th. And tomorrow, from an inside barrier, he's going to settle in a better position to be able to distribute his energy more efficiently. And I feel that from barrier 1, he's going to give a real shout.
Okay, we've touched on Tiger Moth, but just give us your final thoughts on this horse.
Well, since trainers have focused on bringing them to contest in recent years, 3-year-olds, the top-level 3-year-olds, they're so mature, so strong. They've still got the sprint in their legs, and they're not tired. He is very, very hard to assess because he's so lightly raced, and he's been disguised. I'd say his best ratings. So I think that he'll be storming home.
It is interesting, that, isn't it? Has it meant that you've had to sort of to tweak a few of your systems, when you're working at a Melbourne Cup because of that success in recent years?
The older horses who didn't have a lead-up run in Australia have, there's over 100 of them in a row who've lost. And it's the horses, the internationals who came out here and did well, but ran second, for example, they had a run mid-September in the main. The 3-year-olds weren't really considered by the international trainers until more recently. And since 2009, when Marla did very, very well, and then we've had 2 winners and an unlucky runner last year, these horses have been very, very well handicapped. And they've incurred a kilo difference this year, which might make a little bit of difference, but I still think that they're the cohort of the future. The 3-year-olds.
And I'm really keen to get your thoughts, Dom, on Finch as well, with James McDonald doing the riding for Chris Waller. So there's a bit of love for this horse in New Zealand.
Oh, I'm sure and deservedly so. A very profitable bet over the years is to back a horse that had a very light or no campaign in the autumn. So they just haven't used their energy through the autumn. They've reserved themselves. We saw that with Al Mandan recently. And there's been quite a lot of them, DeRemus and Mackay D, Beirne. Finch was denied going to the racetrack in the autumn. He's waited to come back this season. I think that the trainer has probably got him absolutely spot on for the day, and I think that he's a value bet.
Who was the horse that came out on top with your computer ratings, Don?
Russian Camelot comes out on top. I've got a healthy respect for a number of other runners. Generally speaking, the Melbourne Cup, you can always find half a dozen. I've got a half a dozen chances. It's a little bit, and they're all at the top of the market. So I'd rather punters just focus on backing Russian Camelot.
Liking that, Dominic. Really appreciate your time and obviously giving us such great insight into the race. Hopefully, the punters who are watching this video can join you in making profit out of the Melbourne Cup.
Thanks, Aidan.